More brutally cold temperatures and more power outages to worry about this morning. We have some tips for your family if the lights do go off.
And there are people who just don't have the option to stay inside during this cold in order to keep all of us safe in this weather.
This is News 3 This Morning.
Good morning and welcome to News 3 This Morning. 6 o'clock now on this Thursday, January 31st. We have been hovering right around -30, and no, that is without the wind chill. That is without the wind, but we keep saying it. One more day.
Really, and I think you'll actually start to feel some improvement for the afternoon. So we will definitely be coming out of this polar freeze sometime today.
Sometime
today. Let's take a look at the weather maps. We still have a wind chill warning in effect this morning for all of southern Wisconsin. Now it is going to expire here in Madison and Dane County and all points to the west at 10 o'clock. Morning wind chills though ranging anywhere from 30 to 50 degrees below zero. The National Weather Service has mentioned that they may need to issue a wind chill advisory once the warning expires, but they're going to let a few hours pass and see how temperatures warm up this morning. We're actually up a degree now in Madison to -24, and we are one of the warmer spots. What you're noticing on the map this morning, some -30 degree readings, 30 below in Juneau, 34 below in Lone Rock, 33 below in Boscobel. Now in Madison, we've only hit 30 below or lower twice in history.
Wow.
So it is cold this morning. There is a lighter wind though, so that I guess is the best news. Winds aren't terribly strong. Where there is a wind, it quickly drops into the 40s below zero with that wind chill. Here's a look at your wind chill forecast over the next couple of hours. A little bit up and down with those very light forecast winds this morning. We do improve, though, to wind chills only in the teens below zero this afternoon. That's an improvement I was telling you about.
I don't mean to laugh, but holy smokes when that's an improvement.
Right. I know. We'll take anything we can get, though. Anything. There is not a lot happening on the roads to slow you down this morning. Looks like there are a few brake lights, though, inbound on East Washington right now. I looked around the area. There aren't any accidents, which is great news. But again, we're as cold or colder this morning than it was yesterday, so keep that in mind if you're hitting the roads.
That is really important because we were kind of all eyes on yesterday for the better part of a week talking about really cold wind chills, but today's
almost the same.
Yeah, almost as bad. All right, stay safe and thank you, Hattie.
You're welcome.
Alliant Energy crews say it could be another 2 hours before 1,800 homes in southwest Wisconsin get their lights and in some cases their heat back on. Here's a look at where we're seeing those outages. Outside Montfort, Rui, Belmont, along with my hometown of Highland, one there. There are another 300 houses with the lights off just south of Verona as well. Alliant says a transmission line out in the corner of the state knocked out several substations there this morning. 2 of those 3 substations are now back online, but it could still be hours before people around the Livingston area get their power back. Now, this marks day 2 of widespread power outages in our area. The lights went out for thousands of customers across southern Wisconsin yesterday as well. Nearly 3,000 customers in Mineral Point alone. So basically that entire town were without power yesterday morning. Crews also responded to outages in Beloit, Fitchburg, Grant County, Janesville, McFarland, and in other pockets of Iowa County as well. The majority of these outages are caused by equipment failure when insulators, fuses, or other pieces can get brittle in the colds. Now, you might be wondering what you should do if the power goes out in your own house. Our Christina Laurie's in the dark herself this morning with some more advice for the rest of us. Good morning, Christina.
Good morning, Leah. Let's pretend the power is completely out in this part of the building. The first thing you'll want to do that we talked about in the last half hour is grab your phone, call your power company so they can get going on restoring power as quickly as possible. Then you'll want to remember that this temperature right now is as warm as it's going to get. So bundle up, grab some extra clothes for your kids, scarf, hat, gloves, everything for you to keep as much body heat in as possible. Then, once you have all this stuff, take it with you and head to a room of the house that is inside, one that doesn't have doors and windows that face the outside. This door here just leads to a hallway. But if you don't have a room like that, grab a blanket and close all doors, obviously, to the outside or inside of your house. And you can drape this blanket over the window to trap in as much heat as possible. Again, hypothermia can set in really quickly in these temperatures, so trapping in as much heat is crucial. However, although we've been seeing an increased number of power outages during these temperatures, there are actually more crews that are able to respond because they've had to temporarily halt all other routine work and they're just on call, ready to respond to your family in need.
Especially now because of the way we've got that 24-hour staffing, we're getting out as we would no matter the circumstances. We're going to get there quickly and we're going to get that service restored.
So whatever you do, don't use your stove or oven to heat your home while you wait for power to come back on. They can both give off carbon monoxide, which can kill you. Now, during an extended outage, especially in times like this, it's really important that you band together, check on your neighbors, check on people that are 65 years and older. Those are the people that are most susceptible to getting hypothermia. Make sure you make the call for them if they can't. Hypothermia can lead to confusion and people can be hesitant, unsure of what to do. So make sure your family has a plan together ahead of time.
Some great real-world tips that are going to come in handy this week. Christina Laurie reporting live for us. Thank you, Christina.
So there are certain jobs that still require being outside, particularly in this cold. That includes people like farmers, utility crews, and of course first responders. And while they know the cold is a serious issue, Madison police did have a little fun on social media with these frigid temperatures, asking criminals on Facebook to just watch Netflix or read rather than commit a crime. Down in Rock County, where hundreds of people were without power at one point yesterday morning, first responders are doing what everyone else is to stay safe. That means layering up and limiting time outside. Janesville police officer Glenn Hageman says some people will try to take advantage of this forecast, thinking he and his team aren't willing to respond.
Still have crimes being committed. People are still going to be out there trying to take advantage of other people, and you know, criminals still think like criminals. So, you know, their idea is, hey, if it's cold weather and then the cops aren't going to be out and around, then hey, I'm going to try to do something here. But we are out and about.
So Officer Hageman says most calls on cold days like today are for wellness checks, not for crime. Those calls come from people worried about the health and safety of a loved one.
Some shops at Hilldale Mall won't be back open until Friday after a water main break yesterday. It was one of just a dozen main breaks across the city this week. Most of those shops were already closed because of the cold, but crews had to shut down the entire center when water started spilling out into the street. Metcalf's added its name to the list of closures last night because of that main break. It's hoping to reopen tomorrow at noon.
So we do have a running list of businesses and municipal offices that are closed for the cold over on channel3000.com's homepage. But there are some places trying to make sure there is something open for families out there. Sky Zone in Madison not only has stayed open, but the indoor trampoline park also decided to open 4 hours earlier. They've seen a lot of business with schools canceled this week. And then restaurants like Babe's Bar and Grill on the west side, they're also staying open. Managers there did think about closing, but ultimately decided they wanted to give people a place to go.
Felt like as a neighborhood establishment, been in the community for as long as we had, that it was an opportunity to service our guests that live in the neighborhood and are looking for a nice place for a warm meal and somewhere to go, maybe get out of the house.
Babe's did close early to allow their staff to get home before the worst of the cold set in.
If you plan on being outside, despite the cold weather today, Madison police are suspending a lot of their parking enforcement. Alternate side parking will be suspended across the city until Friday at 1 a.m. And on-street parking meters, which have been struggling to work in these temperatures, will not be monitored until today at noon. You can also keep an eye on the city's website for any updates.
There are Madison Metro routes that will not be running today due to the weather. However, the service around the city is still free today. You will want to check online before heading out to the bus stop. Since last week, Metro's also provided warming buses close to transfer points to help riders get out of the cold while they are waiting for the bus. USPS not delivering mail again today, but if it is your trash day in Madison, you do need to get your bins out to the curb. Those crews are still working through the cold today.
All right, 6:08 your time now. The power's back on for hundreds of folks in southwest Wisconsin, while hundreds more near Livingston still waiting for a third Alliance substation to come back on. That's important because there's concern for frostbite or hyperthermia during this kind of cold weather. We're talking to our medical expert, Dr. Mandira Mehra, next about those health concerns and how to recognize them.
Hattie does not expect the wind chill to be quite as dangerous today as compared to yesterday, but we will be right around our lowest high temperature ever for this day. That record was set 101 years ago, everybody. Your Alert Day forecast is next on News 3 this morning.
Good morning from the News 3 First Alert Weather Center. We do have one more alert day, and that's today. Wind chill warnings are still in effect for the entire area this morning. Now, they will expire in a few hours in some spots, but right now, wind chills are still in that dangerous territory, anywhere from 30 to 50 degrees below zero. It is colder this morning than it was this time yesterday in many spots. 26 below in Watertown, 27 below in the Dells. Through the Wisconsin River Valley, though, that's where we're seeing the coldest temperatures. 35 below in Lone Rock, 34 below in Boscobel. Now, those are the actual air temperatures. Luckily, though, not much of a wind through the River Valley and elsewhere across southern Wisconsin. That is good news. But even with a very light wind, temperatures quickly drop into the 40s below zero, and that's what we're seeing in a few spots this morning. Viroqua and Platteville have been pretty consistent with a light wind there. Wind chills in the 40s below zero. So you still need to take the proper precautions. You don't want to spend any extra time outside this morning with those wind chills still below minus 30. Now, there will be some improvement heading towards the lunch hour. We see wind chills in the teens and 20s below zero, and then most everyone climbing to the teens below zero for those wind chills for the afternoon. So it does get a little bit warmer today. Wind chills will stay below zero, though, through tonight. Weather track is pretty quiet around here, but we're watching some clouds as well as some snow. A little tough to see that snow developing across the Dakotas. It will slide to the south and east through the day as this storm system just clips the far southern part of the state. Now, we are not alone with these cold temperatures. That storm system is going to ride right along the edge of that cold air. We're looking at temperatures around 44 degrees below zero in International Falls this morning. Luckily for them, no wind right now, so no wind chill to report there. Here's a look at our forecast then closer to home today. We're looking at some sunshine early on this morning. Again, very cold conditions as we start our Thursday morning. Clouds are expected to roll in through the afternoon from the southwest, headed off to the north and east. Now, I don't think the snow is going to have a huge impact on the evening commute, but it will be moving into the area early this evening and then spreading across just the southern part of the state. It'll be a quick hitting system, so the snow comes to an end overnight tonight. Total accumulation likely less than an inch across southern Wisconsin, although the highest amounts I would expect by tomorrow morning will be right along the state line. Let's take a look at those temperatures then as we head towards the extended period. A little bit of weather whiplash as we climb 70 degrees from this morning until Sunday. So just a few days for that huge temperature swing. With those warmer temperatures, though, we could see some freezing drizzle on Saturday and then just downright rain Sunday into Monday. Let's get a look then at our traffic conditions this morning. Josh Tim has all the details. What are you seeing, Josh?
Yeah, it's a cold but quiet start on the Beltline this morning. No major delays showing up yet in either direction at this point. Checking out some roads here in Dane County, there are a few brake lights on northbound Verona Road near the Beltline and Northport Drive near Troy Drive intersection. No problems or delays downtown around campus. Look for things to pick up over the next hour or so. Other main routes heading into Madison, they're still cruising along at the usual speeds right now with no major crashes or delays. Your First Alert Traffic, I'm Josh Tim.
Glad to see the car actually started this morning. Thank you, Josh, and thank you, Hattie. So as Hattie mentioned, wind chills could be between 30 and 50 below zero this morning, and that means frostbite is possible within just minutes.
Frostbite not the only concern. Hypothermia is another issue during this extreme cold. Dr. Mandira Mera from SSM Health joins us this morning to talk about some of the warning signs. Good morning.
Good morning.
So I was telling you before the break, when I think of hypothermia, I think of the water or definitely outside. And you said, I mean, that's not always the case. You could get this inside.
Correct. You could even get it inside if temperatures get cold enough. And so this is the time to really check in if you have any elderly family members, neighbors, things like that. Sometimes they just don't have the same heating supply that we may think that we have.
Sure.
And so they're used to keeping it at a cooler temperature. And with these cold temperatures, with those cooler temperatures, even indoors, things like hypothermia can set in. And so hypothermia doesn't take a lot. If you think about it, the human body really just has to be at about 98 degrees. And so we do our best to keep it at 98 degrees. Whether it's extreme cold, extreme hot, the body does a pretty good job at trying to regulate that. Problem is, suddenly with these temperatures, we're talking negative 30, negative 50, that's 120 to 150 degree temperature change, suddenly, that the body's exposed to. When that happens, obviously those regulatory systems aren't really in place. That's when hypothermia sets in. So we're talking about initially symptoms like pain, cold feelings, things like that. When it starts getting extreme, we start feeling the absence of pain because suddenly your nerves are shutting down. So you don't feel that pain, that cold. You start having other symptoms, things like muscle weakness, fatigue, confusion. Ultimately, your heart and your brain really just can't keep up, and the ultimate demise is hypothermia. And so a lot of us think of maybe a famous movie scene, like you said, someone in the water, that scene in Titanic with Leonardo DiCaprio, but it can just happen being outside. So if you are with somebody and you start noticing maybe they're not making sense, or they're confused, lethargic, taking shallow breaths, these are all signs of hypothermia, and you need to contact 911 immediately. Best thing you can do, of course, is stay indoors. I know we've been saying this for a couple days now, but if you have to be outside, you know, layers, keeping all the body parts really covered is important. So the nose, the ears, really that core temperature. Now, what's really interesting is that in temperatures like this, people often think, let me drink some alcohol. That'll keep me warm and let me feel good. But there's science behind why you don't want to do that. And this affects all of us that maybe are just enjoying a game outdoors, or celebrating something, and of course the homeless population. So alcohol actually does the opposite. What it does is it vasodilates, so you get that warm feeling in your extremities, but your core temperature is dropping, which actually makes you more susceptible to things like hypothermia. So that's a really important thing to keep in mind right now. And then of course, if you are leaving things in your car, a lot of us have trouble starting our car this time, but to not keep certain things in your car, like medications. Medications with that temperature variance will lose some of their efficacy, may not have those great results. Musical instruments, of course, never leave a loved one, pet, that kind of thing. And then of course, canned goods, beers, sodas, things like that will explode. So definitely take those things out of the car.
All good advice and all really important stuff to keep in mind, especially with this cold. Thankfully, we're on the tail end of it.
Yeah,
so.
I know.
Yeah.
I have a lot of friends from the East Coast, West Coast saying, what does it feel like being out there? And I said, well,
not great.
It's almost like sitting in your freezer, but 30 degrees worse. So it's colder than Antarctica, colder than your freezer.
Yep. Wild. Thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Great to be here.
So criminals do not take a snow day, just like Dr. Mara does not. And we have proof this morning that one crime can lead to another. We will show you the surveillance footage after the break.
And if you think it couldn't get worse, you were wrong. We are really close to another record low high today before the tide turns, and so does the temperature, to the tune of about 70 degrees. Your Alert Day forecast is up next when News 3 This Morning continues.
Good morning, I'm meteorologist Hattie McLean. You're waking up to a wind chill warning still in effect across southern Wisconsin. It will expire at 10 o'clock for our central and western viewing areas. It goes until noon for the eastern part of our viewing area. Here's a look at current air temperatures. And some spots are similar to where they were yesterday, but others are significantly colder. Juneau's at 30 degrees below zero. Lone Rock is at 35, as well as Boscobel, 35 degrees below zero this morning. There is a lighter wind, though, in place this morning across southern Wisconsin, which I guess is the only good news. So there isn't much of a wind chill. It only takes a light wind of about 5 miles an hour, though, to send that wind chill quickly down to around 40 degrees below zero. So take the proper precautions today. Once again, it's going to be dangerously cold this morning. We are climbing, though, into the single digits below zero later on this afternoon. And there is a chance for some light snow accumulation coming this evening. Stay safe today.
All right, we will try. Thank you, Hattie. We cannot talk about staying safe outside enough in these temperatures.
UW Hospital says it's treated at least 8 different people, 8 different injuries related to the cold. 7 of those were cases of frostbite. The other was the result of someone trying to freeze boiling water. This is all a reminder that in these kinds of wind chills, frostbite can set in as little to 5 to 10 minutes. If you have red or swollen skin that starts to turn blue, feels hard or numb, those are all signs of frostbite. You should get medical help immediately.
A Middleton family has a warning out about all the car thefts we've seen recently and why they might lead to more break-ins. You're taking a look at a video from Jake and Caitlin Solomon's front porch from their ring footage. They say they had their Jeep stolen about a week ago. Police found that car miles away along Fish Hatchery Road, but without the keys. Now, this is video of those burglars returning to their house and trying to break in with the keys. Luckily, the family had changed all of the locks and the garage code. They're warning others this kind of thing can happen in any neighborhood.
We know it's tough to even start up your car in this kind of weather, but it is worth a reminder that people are still out to take your vehicle while it's warming up. Madison police have responded to at least 5 stolen car reports this week alone.
6:25 your time now. The extreme cold is to blame for at least 7 deaths across the Midwest, including a University of Iowa student.
We'll have more on that. Plus, it could be a couple hours before hundreds of people across southern Wisconsin get their power restored this morning. A bulk of those households are around Montford. We do have advice on what to do if that happens to your family when News 3 This Morning returns. It's the worst case scenario, the kind of worst case scenario that shows just how dangerous this cold is, as a pre-med student in Iowa is found dead out in the elements.
And questions continue this morning about whether Foxconn will follow through with its jobs promise after announcing it's shifting the Racine campus focus.
This is News 3 This Morning.
Good morning and welcome to the final half hour of News 3 this morning. It's 6:29 now on this Thursday, January 31st, and we are almost out of the woods, so close to being done with these cold temperatures.
One more day.
Yes.
One more day.
One more day. Temperatures say it enough.
I know. I know.
Temperatures will actually climb above zero tomorrow. So that is
What?
the good news. I know. Today, though, is just as cold as it was yesterday. Here's a look. An alert day in effect. Morning wind chills 30 to 50 below early today. Afternoon wind chills, though, will improve to just the teens below zero. Here's a look at our current temperatures. Now in Madison, temps right now are pretty similar to where they were yesterday, but there are more 30 below zero readings on the map this morning. Juneau, Lone Rock now has dropped to 37 degrees below zero. Boscobel is 35 degrees below zero, and it's 32 degrees below zero in Prairie du Chien. Those are temperatures that we typically don't see here in southern Wisconsin. Madison has only dropped to 30 below or lower twice in history. Current wind chills, though, in some spots are approaching 40 below with even just a light wind. Now, our temperatures over the next 12 hours are going to improve a little bit. At least there's more color on this map. We're getting out of the pinks and the purples into the dark blue with temperatures in the single digits below zero this afternoon. Here's a look at your first alert traffic maps. So far, things have been pretty quiet on the roads. We are seeing some slowdowns inbound on East Washington as you're heading into Madison. No other major delays, though, or accidents to report. And that's your first alert traffic.
I know we all want to jump ahead to the weekend because it's going to be so much warmer, but still got to take care outside, drive slow, make sure your car's starting in the first place.
Yeah, one more day. It's very cold this morning.
All right. Thank you, Hattie.
You're welcome.
So the high in Iowa City today is 3 degrees. That is significantly warmer than it was there yesterday when authorities say a pre-med student was found dead outside. That happened just before 3 yesterday morning. Police found 18-year-old Gerald Bells' body outside of the University of Iowa campus, outside of a building there, I should say. The wind chill at that time made it feel like negative 51 degrees. Doctors did not find any alcohol in his system. Police do believe the death is weather-related. Across the Midwest, there have been at least 7 deaths attributed to this extreme cold.
We want to remind you, if you have to be outside during these temperatures, dressing in layers is vital. You want to make sure all of your skin is covered, since it could take just 10 minutes for frostbite to set in with wind chills getting down to negative 25, like we could see today. Hypothermia, also a pretty big concern. Here are some warning signs to watch out for: shivering, slurred speech, and shallow breathing. When temperatures drop like this, doctors say it's also important to be eating well-balanced meals. Nutritionists recommend foods that are high in iron, things like red meat, fish, eggs, and oatmeal.
Nearly 800 Alliant customers around Montford could be without power for another hour and a half this morning. Another 300 or so don't have electricity in the Belleville area.
If you're wondering what you would do if you were in that scenario, a very real possibility this week, Christina Laurie has some answers for you. She's live in the building and in the dark with some advice. Good morning, Christina.
Good morning, Leah and Danica. Let's pretend once again the power is out in this part of the building. The first thing you want to do, grab your cell phone, make that call to your energy company so they can get the ball rolling and restoring your power as quickly as possible. Then you'll want to put down your phone to conserve as much energy as possible. Grab as many layers as you can. Grab that scarf, gloves, clothing for your kids. Dress them and yourself in layers, and grab loose clothes so you trap in as much heat as possible to keep yourself warm. Then you'll want to grab your whole family and those clothes and head to a room in the house that's in the inside, so not facing any of the outdoor walls. That'll be one of the warmest rooms. Grab your blanket, huddle together. You'll trap in body heat and you'll keep each other warm. Remember, these temperatures are going to quickly drop in your home, but hopefully crews will be able to restore power rather quickly. Although we've been seeing a number of power outages more than usual for this time of year, crews say they have been able to respond pretty quickly because all crews haven't been able to do their routine work because of these freezing temperatures.
Typically, it's not, you're not going to be looking at some 12-hour outage. You know, we're going to be able to get service restored in a relatively timely fashion.
You'll also want to pick a room of the house that doesn't have any windows, because that will be warmer as well. If you don't have a room like that, you can use blankets to cover the windows and trap in more heat. Also, you'll want to make sure you keep at least one light in your room that you're in switched on, so you'll know when the power comes back on and when it's safe to leave. And if it happens in the middle of the night, get some rest. If it happens during the day, you can go back to your normal activities. Leah and Danica.
All right, some news you can use, especially with negative degree temperatures in the next couple of days. Thank you, Christina.
New this morning, Chicago rail officials are setting the tracks on fire to make sure trains can keep running in that city. Check this out right here. This is on purpose. Snow and ice can clog the switches that control which rail trains run on. So if they're frozen, those trains can stop altogether. Frigid temperatures can also cause the steel to contract and break. Those are not options in a place like Chicago. Metro officials told the Chicago Tribune this is actually a normal procedure during the winter and not just when we're seeing extreme lows like this week.
Okay, that story is wild, but so is this next one. The temperature is so low, even alcohol is freezing. That's not the crazy part. That means cities in the Midwest could be running low on beer since deliveries have been put on hold because they're freezing solid during the drive. Well, we haven't heard of this happening in Madison just yet. Up in Minneapolis, most beer distribution is at a complete standstill. While beer can be transported in a heated truck, first of all, that sounds disgusting. Second of all, not many distributors have heated trucks since they're not usually needed.
In other news this morning, the business world is watching Wisconsin this week after Foxconn said it might shift the focus of its $10 billion campus in Racine County. We first told you about that report yesterday. According to Reuters, Foxconn is now planning to turn what was going to be a massive production facility for LCD panels into a research hub instead. The company still claims it will create up to 13,000 jobs that it promised in order to receive billions of dollars in tax incentives from the state. State lawmakers not so sure about that commitment. While the plan's opponents say this would not be the first time a company pulled out of a major deal like this, supporters say they're confident that Foxconn won't leave without making a significant investment here in Wisconsin.
They're a really diverse technology company, and the kinds of things that they will continue to do as they build out in Wisconsin are going to be a really good match for the technologies that we have here.
The type of facility that they were talking about when they were breaking ground and the president came in and everybody was really happy, not even going to be close to what they said they wanted to do.
Republican lawmakers are blaming Governor Evers for the company reconsidering, saying the new governor brought a wave of economic uncertainty. However, Evers' top aide says his administration will devote time, resources, and personnel to make sure workers and taxpayers are protected.
Lawmakers here in Wisconsin also working on a bill to try and cut down on sex crimes across the state. The bipartisan measure would fine anyone convicted of soliciting prostitutes starting at $5,000. That money would be used to cover treatment costs for victims of sex trafficking and help pay for investigating internet crimes against children. Lawmakers are currently circulating that bill for co-sponsors. If it's passed, estimates say the fine would be issued around 300 times annually, and it could generate more than $1 million.
6:36 right now. There is a group here in Madison out braving the cold to help those without a place to stay warm. We'll tell you about Friends of State Street family coming up in the morning sprint.
And if you're game to layer up with your kids with snow pants, hats, gloves, wool socks to get outside today or tomorrow, and Revilis Zoo is open for business, we'll share how they're helping the animals stay warm when News 3 This Morning continues. Okay, we are going to take a minute and enjoy this cold weather because of the gorgeous scenes it gives us. Wendy took this photo over at the Wisconsin River near Prairie du Sac earlier this week. It's eerie because of the cold and that gorgeous fog, but just such a pretty photo.
Yeah, most definitely. Seen a lot of pictures like this where the steam is kind of coming up from the lakes and waterways around here. Gorgeous. Thank you for grinning and bearing the cold for this one. If you have a picture like this, or maybe it's how you're staying warm during the morning, please send them over or post them on our social media pages. We share our favorites every morning here on the program.
The life of a zookeeper in Wisconsin can include some very cold days, as you might imagine. And here in Madison, the Henry Vilas Zoo is taking some extra precautions to keep all of its animals inside. A few at the zoo, like the bison and the polar bear, are made for the cold, but that doesn't mean they don't need a little help.
Even though their wild counterparts should be able to withstand it, we also do our due diligence to make sure that anybody in the zoo that isn't able to, hunker down in a den or something like that is given all of the proper tools to make them as comfortable as possible.
So the good news, if you can grin and bear it, the zoo is open to the public during this cold weather. They just ask that visitors stay safe and think ahead when they get dressed. All right, 6:41 your time now. Just one more day until we're out of this extreme cold. Wind chills could make it feel like -20s today, but Saturday we could reach a balmy 37. Hattie's Alert Day forecast is next.
First, though, it is January 31st, and we want to say happy birthday to Alexia, all bundled up on the playground there, and all the kids turning 3. Thanks for celebrating with us here on News 3 this morning.
It is cold outside this morning.
Yes, it is.
We've been getting a lot of pictures into the weather office, though. Some cute, some just frigid, some funny. Thought I'd show you guys some of those and share those with our viewers because they are pretty cute, some of them. Look at this one. Pat sent this one in yesterday. Oh. You can hardly tell. That's a little bird, a tufted titmouse, she says. He just ate, and he's all puffed up. Oh,
he
trying
just
to stay warm.
Got his fill, looks like.
Yeah, but his feathers are all puffed up to try and keep his
to block the wind
little
too.
body warm. Yeah, so poor guy. But this one made me laugh. Shannon sent this one in yesterday morning. This is why you never lick a metal pole.
That's why you never
do. Smart advice, Shannon.
This is a mouse that was trying to climb the bird feeder pole.
Honey.
Frozen. She woke up. He's dead. He's frozen on the pole.
Somebody was watching way too much Christmas Story there, I think.
Oh, no.
Oh, mouse problems.
Mouse problems, indeed.
That's cute. I love that.
I don't know what's worse, to have the dead mouse frozen to the pole or a live mouse.
Oh, you guys.
I'm going to have to think on that, yeah.
But hey, 48 days till the first day of spring. Less than 50, so not bad. Here's what it looks like for today. We're looking at temperatures still well below zero. Wind chill warnings are in effect for the area until 10 o'clock here for southwestern Wisconsin. They'll expire at 10. They go until noon for the rest of the area. There may be a wind chill advisory added to this after these warnings expire. The National Weather Service is going to wait a few hours to assess the situation mid-morning, see if we need those advisories. But here's a look at that wind chill forecast. Wind chills, even with a very light wind this morning, quickly dropped to around 40 below. Have not had much of a wind here in Madison, but notice through the afternoon as temperatures warm a little bit, we'll have lighter winds today, and those wind chills will be in the teens below zero. So believe it or not, this is a huge improvement over yesterday afternoon. We are watching some light snow on the map already to our north and west. That snow is breaking out across the Dakotas this morning. It will continue to slide eastward, and as that polar air tracks eastward as well, that snow will slide into southern Wisconsin later this afternoon into this evening. Here's the GFS Future Track Forecast model showing you a fairly narrow band of snow just clipping the far southern part of the state. So if you have interests in the Northwoods, not going to see any snow from this particular system. Now, heaviest amounts will be across northern Illinois, but we could see some light, fluffy 1-inch snow accumulations across southern Wisconsin. Then we get a break on Friday with no precipitation in the forecast, but as winds shift to the south and warmer air begins to move into the region, it turns quite mild around here. In fact, warm enough for rain to be back in the forecast. Maybe a little bit of freezing drizzle on Saturday, but by Sunday, it's definitely warm enough for all rain for southern Wisconsin. That rain could last even into Monday. Here's a look at current temperatures. With numbers like this, we're not talking any liquid precipitation. Still well below zero across the entire Great Lakes region. 24 below here in Madison. We're actually one of the warmer spots. Lone Rock, just a couple of minutes ago, was 37 degrees below zero, now 36. Some of the coldest temperatures are in those low spots right through the Wisconsin River Valley. Just got an email from a viewer right outside of Blue Mounds. She had 40 below on her thermometer this morning. Luckily, though, not much of a wind to talk about this morning, so wind chill isn't as much of an issue. Doesn't take much of a wind, though, to drop those wind chills into the 40s below zero. Temperatures today, as the clouds roll in, will climb into the single digits above zero later on this afternoon. Quite a bit warmer than we were yesterday. 4 below in Mineral Point, 3 below in Muscoda, and to the north, temperatures right around 5 or 6 degrees below zero. Let's take a look then at that extended forecast. We have a big warm up for the upcoming weekend. Look at these numbers. 16 on Friday, into the 30s and even 40s as we head towards Saturday and Sunday. We're looking at rain in the forecast. The warm temperatures don't last too long, though. We are going to cool down next week with some more chances for snow as well. Here's our Pet Walk forecast.
Oh.
Dash Riprock. Love the name. Love the shirt.
Ready for Brewers.
Yeah, aren't we all?
Yeah,
Thank you, Maddie.
Season. Morning Sprints coming up next right here on News 3 This Morning. Stay with us. 6:52, time for the morning sprint. There are still hundreds of people in places like Montford and Paoli without power this morning. Christina Laurie's telling us all what to do if our heat turns off in this extreme cold.
First, though, let's check in on those temperatures and your alert day forecast with Hattie.
It is an alert day for southern Wisconsin. We have one more day with the dangerously cold conditions. Wind chill warnings still in effect in the entire area this morning. Morning wind chills are in the 30s and even in some spots 40s below zero. Wind chills over the next 12 hours will improve though somewhat heading into the afternoon. Wind chills only in the teens below zero later today.
Thank you very much, Hattie. At least 7 people have died as a result of the cold across the Midwest so far this week. One of those deaths happened at the University of Iowa, where an 18-year-old pre-med student was found dead out in the cold. Police found the body of Gerald Bells outside a building on campus around 3 a.m. yesterday when the wind chills were right around -51 degrees. Doctors did not find any alcohol in his system.
We want to remind you, if you have to be outside during these temperatures, dressing in layers is vital. You want to make sure all of your skin is covered, as it could just take 10 minutes for frostbite to set in with the wind chills we're seeing today. Hypothermia, another big concern. Some warning signs to watch out for include shivering, slurred speech, and shallow breathing.
Right now, hundreds of people in south central Wisconsin are without power, including more than 800 in Montford and around 300 in Paoli. With all these questions, with all these power outages, we're asking the question, does your family know what to do if the power goes out in your house? The first thing you'll want to do, call your energy company. Then head to a room in the center of your house, one preferably without any doors and windows. Then you'll want to grab as many clothes as possible, bundle up, and huddle together. We have a full list of everything you should do if the power goes out in your home up on our website, channel3000.com.
Thank you, Christina. Madison schools are closed for the 4th day this week, the 3rd for cold weather. But given the rise in temperatures we're expecting this afternoon, the district says after school activities like sports or other MSCR events will go on as planned. Based on the current forecast, the district does expect school to be back open tomorrow.
When you're out in this weather and you're out in it for 2 minutes, you feel it. And there are people that live in this weather.
That right there was Jeff Turk with the group Friends of the State Street family. He and many others are working to make sure those who live on the streets have somewhere to go that's warm in this dangerously cold weather. The past 4 days, they've been driving around downtown Madison looking for anyone who might need help and offering them a ride to a shelter. If you see someone who needs assistance, feel free to reach out to their 24/7 outreach line.
Madison Metro continuing to offer bus services for free today, but individual trips and select routes could be canceled due to the weather, so you're going to want to check online before heading out to the bus stop. Since last week, Metro has also provided warming buses next to bus stops to help people who are waiting for their ride.
Still have crimes being committed. People are still going to be out there trying to take advantage of other people.
That's Janesville police officer Glenn Hageman, who is warning that some criminals might try to act on days like this when they think fewer officers will be out in the cold. But officers, along with other first responders, are layering up to keep everyone safe. That's the message there. Officer Hageman says most of their calls right now are not about crime, but are wellness checks, which is people calling in worried about the health and safety of a loved one.
2 people are in the Dane County Jail this morning, accused of stealing more than $1,000 worth of tools from a Habitat for Humanity trailer. Fitchburg police say it happened at the intersection of Equity and Unity Lanes, where a lot of those Habitat houses are built. Officers were able to track down the car and take 30-year-old Andrew Lambert and 25-year-old Alyssa Clayton into custody.
There's proof this morning that one crime can lead to another after a Middleton family caught car thieves on camera trying to break into their house. This is ring footage from the couple's front porch. They say they had their Jeep stolen from the driveway about a week ago. Police found the car miles away, but without the house keys inside. So those burglars returned and tried using those keys to get in. The family had just changed all the locks, thankfully, as well as the garage code.
The business world is watching Wisconsin this week after Foxconn said it might shift the focus of its $10 billion campus over in Racine County. According to the news outlet Reuters, Foxconn is now planning to turn what was going to be a massive production facility for LCD panels into a research hub. The company still claims it's going to create up to 13,000 jobs it promised in order to receive billions of dollars in tax incentives from the state. Lawmakers are unsure about that commitment.
6:57 right now. Let's get one more check on traffic this morning with Josh Tim. Hi, Josh.
Yeah, good morning. Still pretty quiet on most of the roadways, including the Beltline, but the westbound side is beginning to see a few brake lights near the Stoughton Road exit. John Nolan looking at slowdowns near the Monona Terrace heading inbound and outbound. That's going to add a couple minutes to your drive. And other main routes heading into Madison still cruising along at the posted speeds with no major crashes or delays. Your First Alert Traffic, I'm Josh Tim.
Thank you, Josh.
And one more day with dangerously cold conditions. Skies are clear this morning, so we'll wake to some sunshine after 7 o'clock. Temperatures, though, will stay below zero through the day, but we'll climb at least into the single digits below zero this afternoon. Then we turn our attention to some light snow that's in the forecast. Some very light accumulations are possible this evening. Otherwise, warmer for the weekend.
All right, stay warm out there, folks. We'll see you back here tomorrow.